And now, live from the studios of Freedom's Phoenix, Ernest Hancock.
Welcome back to Declare Your Independence with me, Ernest Hancock, here in Phoenix, Arizona, from the beautiful studios of Freedom's Phoenix, freedom with an S, phoenix.com, here at the farm. Now, we have from Honduras, Jesse Freeston, and he is a Viking. I guess your hair is more red than blonde, but it's light colored, and you're tall, and you stick out like a sore thumb, man. There is no way you're being clandestine there in Honduras. Now, I'm wondering, what I want to get right to is that we have an entire people, a country that, these lines on the maps, I mean, they just kind of make this stuff up back in the day. And they overlap. It's a whole central, it's you have the indigenous people that have interbred over the centuries with the Spanish conquest. In Brazil, you got the Portuguese, and other places. Argentina has a lot of Germans. I mean, you have, it's just this whole, you kind of to say, well, here's a line. It's kind of like in the Middle East, they just out in the middle of the sand, they said, okay, you got some English and French map makers and go, here's a line. Well, they do the same thing there. These indigenous peoples, they understand and acknowledge much different lines, I would imagine. But for sake of argument, let's go ahead and say Honduras. Honduras has a line, a border that's for whatever reason got carved out of the jungle and so on there. That's the line. So they go, all right, here's your line. Well, this country, they go, we want our country. I mean, do they really even, the first question is, do they have some kind of a nationalistic, patriotic, border defending this border mentality? Is that even there?
There's definitely a Honduran identity. People definitely identify with the flag, with the national anthem, and with some of the, liberation characters of the past. Morazan is the hero of Honduran independence, but also a hero of independence for most of Central America. So you've got two levels going on. You've got a Honduran consciousness, but probably more strong is a Latin American consciousness. In that the character of a Latin American resistance over the past 100 or so years has been, vis-a-vis the United States. And now more so Canada, with Canadian mining interests and other things coming into this country.
Okay, so let me ask this question. Now let's go ahead and follow along that. Now, what happens in Honduras then would have an enormous emotional, intellectual even, impact on other people in the entire Latin area.
Absolutely, and you've seen it become a huge issue at the level of governments, arguing at the Organization of American States, down to the media. There's way more journalists here from Brazil and Argentina and Uruguay and other countries in Latin America than there are from North America or from Europe. Interested in what's going on in Honduras.
How the heck did you wind up down there anyway? Why are you there? Do you even speak Spanish?
Personal interest. I do speak Spanish.
Okay, so you came down, you go, yeah, this seems like where the fight's at, and I got a camera. Here I go.
Absolutely. I thought it was a really interesting movement. As somebody who thinks that everybody really believes in participatory democracy and at the level from municipal to national, I saw this as a movement that I thought needed more of a spotlight. And
okay,
now I'm on your show, so it's working.
No. I'm glad to have you. This is perfect. And I wanted to make clear. I had a short conversation with you, off air a couple segments ago to let you know what my spiel is. This is what I'm building up to. And what my problem is with all of these kinds of movements is a couple of things. One, they advocate for us, the people, to be in charge of a government that's then going to be in charge of the people, and that government's going to attract the worst of the people to be in charge. And I'm going, do they understand what they're asking for? As they go, we insist on representation in some kind of a government that's going to have a military and guns and rule us. And I'm going, it's like you already lost before you even got started. And I'm wondering, is there a contingent there or people that are arguing for not being ruled? Because whatever they come up with any kind of an election, and you're seeing it happen right now, they're eliminating the most vocal opposition to the state. to control, to the corporations, to the foreign businesses, to the foreign interest. They are already making sure that whatever comes out of it is going to have the rule of law with a gun, and it's going to be their interest and not the people. At the very best, they may get to have the illusion of an election, and they're going to do what the heck they're going to do anyway. So I'm wanting to ask this specific question, and maybe you know the answer, maybe you don't, or you can find out for me. I want to know what group or ideology or representation of in Honduras is advocating the concept of not reconstituting the entire country to more regional autonomous of some city or neighborhood or themselves, or how about we replace it with none, or something that a constitution that is very, 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 very limited in what the government can do. Because the other alternative will be a constitution that will be progressive. It will be the government should supply, and you fill in a long list of things that they need to supply, and then you're going to have a government that takes it from someone to redistribute it, and that always involves guns. So that's my concern. Which way are they going, and is that freedom-oriented, not have this central power to take from people to redistribute, is that represented there at all?
Absolutely. I would say that sort of that vision you see more represented in some of the indigenous groups. Some of the indigenous groups tend to err towards, or not err, but tend to be in favor of more local autonomy, making their own decisions, and having their own governance structures, and no longer being dominated by a government that exists 500 kilometers away in the capital that doesn't speak their language. So you see that in other ones. For other groups, I think people are there's a whole history of imperialism and colonialism here. Honduras has a ton of natural resources and capacity for work, and I think people really believe that they need a strong government to defend their interests, or else they'll be at the whim of foreign invaders or foreign interests.
How do you think the foreign interest get it? They get the government to sign a little piece of paper indebting the people with, forever indebtedness they can never pay back. They have contracts, gives them access to the resources themselves, the forest, the wood, the mining, the whatever. How do you think they get that? It's from a government that they control.
Yeah, in the current situation with the current structure of the current government, the government is the one that guarantees the security of the investment of the foreign interests and uses the military and uses force to guarantee access to those resources. I mean, there's absolutely no question that's
going on now. And how do you stop that?
I think people here are envisioning a government or a constitution that might set up a different framework for the exploitation of resources and the exploitation of people. I think people here don't have expectations of a utopia coming out of this. Absolutely. But I think what they're saying is, it's time for us to get everybody together and launch a new experiment in democracy. Because, what's the worst that could happen in some new experiment? You end up with 80% poverty and 300,000 families without land. That's where they're at right now.
I vote none government. None. Let's try that experiment. Let's see how it works out. I'm with the indigenous people, man. They go, hey, we were doing fine. European man come here, make big problems, speak with forked tongue. I get it. This is do you think that these indigenous people, being someone that's progressive, I would imagine. I mean, do you think that these indigenous people should be allowed to be left alone? Let them have the little valley up in the mountain, whatever, and okay, you all do what you want, and peace be upon thee, and you got your Indian reservation like we got up here, except we leave them alone more. And I'm going, just these options, or it's no, you're not allowed. You will be under the flag, and you're going to pledge allegiance, and you're going to whatever the heck comes out of this thing. Do you see my point? You're always going to be having some group of people are going to force their will on someone else. You're already bad, and you haven't even started yet. Well, when we come back, Jesse's going to correct me. We'll be right back here on Declare Your Independence with me, Ernest Hancock, and my special guest, Jesse Freeston in Honduras right now, watching history being made, and it's not done there. This is going across the world. How much do you know about it? We'll be right back.